There's the gym rat who posts selfies doing CrossFit in a thong. All those flexing egotists, I've got you on my list. And the couples dining out who bring their screaming kids along and won't make them desist. Ooh, I got you on my list.
That's what we call a teaser. That, of course, is James BEAMAN, who is going to be back where he belongs on stage at the Triad on June 1st. I saw the show a few months ago, and it was incredible, and I'm going back for a second helping. I love James BEAMAN. He's transformed my life this year. We'll talk about that a little later on. But I've got some incredible people waiting in the wings today. Everyone, I want to thank you all, everybody who's tuned in for every Friday that we've done this, and for all of the Richard Skipper Celebrate shows. We've done over 900 of them, and now it is time for me to get back on stage myself. So I am busy putting together a tour, and because that's taking up so much of my time, I need to put this on hold, at least for the time being. I never say never, because you never know what's waiting in the wings. But today we have some incredible people waiting in the wings, and I asked Sumatsuki, who, by the way, just returned from a sold-out show at Crazy Coq's in London. I'm very excited. I'm going to be there in August, but she did incredibly well there. And I'm sorry that I'm not doing another show to bring her on to talk about that. But I asked her to pick a number before we started, and she picked a dear friend of mine who has a brand new show that she's going to be opening called Sneak Peek. So our very first guest today is the one and only Goldie Dver. Hello, Goldie.
Hello, my little Richard. How are you?
I am doing great. It's so good to see you, and we're going to talk about your show in a moment. But before we begin, I want to ask, number one, who or what have you celebrated today?
Oh, my goodness. You always catch me with these questions off guard, and you make me actually think. Who or what have I celebrated today? Oh, goodness. You really caught me with this one for a second. You know what? I celebrated waking up.
That's good.
Yes, I celebrate that every morning. When I wake up, it's a good day.
We're gonna continue with the difficult questions because I've got 9 mystery cards laid out.
Right.
So pull a number 1 through 9, and we'll see what your card is.
1 through 9. Well, 9 happens to be one of my lucky numbers, so I will.
Well, mine too. And this is a good question. It's going to get us really off to a good start today. What are you most worried about with the next generation? And I'm going to make this specifically about our community. What are you most concerned about with the next generation when it comes to the arts?
Wow, this is serious. I'm very worried about what is happening in the arts. I am a firm believer in equal opportunity, have been my whole life. But I'm worried that our arts community is shifting from a meritocracy to a bureaucracy that is heavily influenced today by factors that are causing our theater to just the whole face of theater and cabaret and the arts has changed. And I don't mean that as far as people being seen in different minorities being seen. I mean that as far as the entertainment value. And I know a lot of people that have complained about when they go to be cast, they feel that people are being cast just to fill quotas, not necessarily by talent.
You know, it's very interesting that you say this. I was talking to someone the other day, and he was part of a new show that just opened. And as far as the casting is concerned, the right person for the job did not get the job simply because they had to fill these quotas that are being imposed upon this. And I totally agree with what you said. I am all about diversity and equal opportunities and everyone, but we need to get back to talent being the driving force in terms of someone being cast or not being cast.
And there are plenty of talented people within every social, economic, and minority, majority. Every group has very talented people there. We have to do things to encourage these people to really come out and be seen, make places for them to learn their craft, not just bring them in because we need to fill a quota, but help these people really have the opportunity to get the training and to develop their craft and develop their art, and then be cast in the role.
Absolutely. I want to ask, and I remember, and you and I have been around a few years, Goldie.
On the block a couple
When
times.
I first started Don't Tell Mama, I had to audition to get booked in that room.
Right. That was years ago. But we also got paid to play the room. Now we pay to play.
That's right. And it's getting harder and harder and harder. It's very interesting going back on the road now. It's been 13 years since I've gone on the road to do a show, and all the dynamics of it have changed.
Yes.
Um, and for anyone out there on either side of the fence, all that any of us want in this business is to be acknowledged. And when you send out, and I understand that people are inundated with emails and and everything, but just to say, we received your package, we received your email, we're looking it over, we'll be in touch.
Right.
That's an acknowledgement. But I send things out, and I don't even know if they've ever been seen or not.
Right. And I again, like you, I understand both sides of the fence. I understand the need to get the word out, but I also understand sometimes being overwhelmed. And I have to admit that there are times when it gets by me and I don't get a chance to let that person know that, even as you say, I got your card, I got your publicity. I can't come to this show. I'm going to try to make that, or can't come this time. Whatever it is they're saying, or thrilled I'll be seeing you soon. Just an acknowledgement.
Now, I'm going to talk about the flip side of this, because I have a pet peeve when it comes to social media. If you are posting about your show, I don't need for anyone to comment on that post as to why they're not going to be able to attend your show. That's something that should be done privately. Everyone, and there are certain people, and I wish I could be there at your show, Goldie, but I'm going to be at 54 Below that night.
Oh,
And it drives me up the wall when I see these postings from other people that will do that. You don't need to tell the world that you're not going to be able to attend a show, but it takes very little effort, and I do this all the time, and you know it, is to hit the like button and hit the share button.
right.
That takes very little effort on all of our parts. If
Right.
it's someone that you're not a fan of, do it anyway. Everybody needs an audience. So I will do this. I want to bring on our next guest in just a moment. But before we do, I want to talk about this incredible new series that you have coming up.
Oh,
And it's called Sneak Peek. And you are doing this once a month.
yes.
And you have two of my favorite people working with you, James BEAMAN and Dan Pardo.
Yes.
Team.
Yes. And they're wonderful. And as you know, Jamie and I have been friends, collaborators. He's been my director 28 years now. And the two of us conceived this show together. I'm producing, he's directing. I will be hosting each show. It's a monthly series at Don't Tell Mama. And the concept is that we are presenting works in progress. You know, we want people to come on and give us a sneak peek behind the curtain of what they're doing next. What haven't we seen performed yet? Let's give us a little zhuzh and get us excited. And it gives the performer a chance to come up and expose something they're doing, get a little bit of promo going, a little bit of buzz, but also we're going to have a little chat with them after they do their song to just talk to them about their development process or the project, whatever they want to present to the audience. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And as you saw on the card, my special guest for the opening show is the amazing Grammy winner, Julie Gold. And I'm actually going to be singing one of Julie's original songs this show. Yes, don't want to give anything away. It's going to be fun. And as you can see from that lineup, Camille Diamond, Meg Flather, Jason Henderson, Karen Mack, Marty Millett, Justin Dylan Nastro, Tracy Stark, and of course, our wonderful music director, Dan Pardo.
And they are all stars. And speaking of stars, I want to bring on our next star.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you help bring us on. So pull a number 1 through 4. They're all waiting anxiously to get on camera. So pull a number 1 through 4.
3.
And it's psychic. James Beaman.
That was psychic.
3 on a match, and 2 of my stars, my proudest collaborations, the 2 of you trusting me with your work and allowing me to direct and coach and be a part of your vision, and you're both killing it. And
I want to say, and I think you know this, when I first mentioned that I was going to do a new show, Goldie said, call James Beaman. I mean, she didn't hesitate. That was the next words out of her mouth, call James Beaman. And it's been incredible. And there are a lot of things that are floating around that I'm very excited about. But I'm here to talk about you. Before we do, James, the question that I asked Goldie, what are you most concerned about when it comes to the next generation and the arts?
I think our young people coming up have so much passion, and they have so much a sense of responsibility to their place in the world and their voice in the world. And I think all of that stuff is so great. And it's so great to see that idealism and energy. But, I think a lot of the young people coming up, their growth as young adults was sort of stunted by the lockdowns and the COVID, sort of that isolation and living on the phone all the time. And, so I'm concerned about access to audiences and to connection. As an actor, I audition in my living room on an iPhone most of the time for theater, and it's killing the whole sort of sense of connection, because rarely do we get to work. It's so competitive. And I think young people need to be in holding areas, and they need to be with each other, and they need that networking, and they need to look a casting director in the eye and feel that they're a part of something. So my fear for them is that they're on this too much, and they're not connecting. And live performances, the reason cabaret, I think, is having a renaissance right now is because it's a place to really intimately connect with another human being, and to tell stories and to lift people up, and to enjoy the things that we enjoy for their own sake, and not to make a statement, and not to make a protest, and not to, and not to clobber each other over the head with whatever it is that our message is, because the truth is the arts are here to connect us as human beings. Right. All of our human experiences are shared. And so my fear for the young people is that they're not going to have enough fun, and they're not going to get to do their stuff and connect and make mistakes. They're so afraid of doing something wrong or saying something wrong, and you can't get
James, along those
without
same
making
lines,
mistakes.
2 things that are running through my head. First of all, I remember the first day, and it was the night that I appeared in Goldie's incredible tribute and benefit for St. Jude's. That was the first day also that you and I and Dan Pardo were in a rehearsal studio together for the first time. And I had never met Dan. I didn't know him. And you and I were talking, and then he sits down at the piano and he starts noodling on the piano. And it was almost as if firecrackers went off in that room. You came up with an idea. He came up with an idea. I came up with an idea. And we were bouncing these ideas off of each other. And Liza Minnelli once said, as much as I love being in front of an audience, and let's face it, all 3 of us love to be in front of an audience. But nothing is like what happens in the rehearsal room.
Right.
And I'm so afraid that kids nowadays, I mean, with shows like American Idol and everything, that they don't have a chance to go out and make mistakes or to learn lessons and everything. They have to be perfect right out of the box. And, and I'm a work in progress. And I feel that at 63 years old, that I am just finding my ground. I really do believe that.
Well, you're certainly claiming it. I mean, the way that you're being received in Still Going Strong across the country and soon to be across the pond, audiences, you as a person, and this show in particular, it's full of life and joy.
Right.
and celebration, true celebration. And people need it. They drink it up like water in a desert. And our sneak peek series is going to have a different theme every month. So we're going to be doing I think July is going to be we're going to call it September songs, and it's going to be people getting a chance to sort of throw a number out that they're working on for a new show for the fall, and make a little mistake, and we're hoping that it will be attended by fellow artists who are there to support each other's progress, and the cabaret mavens who we love so much, who come out for something like this so that they can be the first one on the block to have heard whoever that is sing that song for the first time. It's a way of encouraging people, because we do so much of our work. I mean, it's great to have collaborators, but a lot of the work happens in your alone, and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. Lived experience for me was the first time I'd been on stage as myself, like ever. And that was a very scary thing to contemplate by myself. And it was only when I started to play with my talented friends that it became more than just me. And I think that's important.
But what a brilliant show you created.
Oh,
And
it's incredible.
I mean, I love getting to see the real Jamie. Still at his theatrical heightened senses, but seeing you sing and dance again, and it has so many.
And being your authentic self.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And not being afraid
What's
to
an all?
be Jamie, who can be a bit provocative from time to time, which I
A
love.
bit.
But always done with a sense of humor. Never done
Well,
hitting
yeah,
someone over the head. Or
no, because
always,
it's not.
it's always acceptable and palatable and accessible, because you're doing. People hear more when you talk to them with humor than if you try to be so serious. So it's a wonderful show, Jamie. Can't
So
wait.
we're going to bring on our
And
next guest in just a moment. But before we do, James, there are 8 cards laid out. So pull your mystery card, and we'll see what it is. And then we're going to bring on our next guest. But you're going to stick around, because we're going to talk a little bit more about lived experience in a few moments.
Sure. 7.
And your card is, what is the best job that you feel that you've had in the arts, and why?
The best job I've had in the arts. Best in terms of experience or best in terms of pay? If that's hard to say, well, maybe. I've been in the business. I grew. It's a family business. My father was a set designer, and my mother was an acting teacher and a writer and a poet and an actress. So I was always in it. I think the best job I've had, the most life-changing job I've had in this business, was the 2 years I spent on the road with the first national tour of Spamalot. Between 2007 2009, playing Sir Robin in this just gloriously successful show in the middle of the financial crash. We're 4-walling 3,000-seat theaters, and I got to perform in 62 cities and every province in Canada, and see this beautiful, beautiful country of ours. Wow. And be a part of something, and perform 700 performances of a role that I could have done another 700, and make a little money, which we never make in this business. So yeah, those were good days.
That's great. Well, you're going to help us bring on our next guest, and we're going to find out whether he, she, or they, what their best job was in the business. So pull a number 1 through 3.
2.
2. And another one of my favorite artists out there, who is creating magic and art every single day. Truly one of the best, busiest guys in the business. Danny, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What is the best job that you've ever had in the theater?
Well, I'm glad
Or in
James
the
kind of
arts?
gave me a little hint on that, because, I got thinking, and I was like, if they call me, I better have something. Because,
Everybody get ready.
I'll tell you, I feel very blessed, because I look at every job as an amazing experience and as a great experience. I know that's I don't want to be a cop out. I'll get to what I feel was probably one of my favorite jobs, and I'll tell you why. But, just to be able to make a living as an artist in this business, and do something that you love doing really on a daily basis. And, knowing that it's always been there, and I feel like, it hasn't abandoned me yet, my ability to do this as as an artist that make a living. So that really, just as a whole, I'm very grateful. I'm full of gratitude for that. But I would say probably, years and years ago, back in 2003, I was working back when I was an actor in my acting days. I was working with a theater company in New York, and we had gotten a job. We got hired by Random House back at the in 2003, 2004 to do a show about Dr. Seuss and his centennial year. So our company was a very improv based company. So we basically created this whole show, and I was one of the head writers as well as the music director. And I was really lucky because my brother was with me at the time in the theater, who at the time was my comedy partner. So we got to work together, and I also met my wife on that tour and fell in love on the road. So like James, getting to see the whole country, performing for audiences all over. I think we visited 48 cities and ended up at the book fair in LA, where we got to open for Julie Andrews and Jay Leno, which was really thrilling.
Wow.
And it's funny, I'll tell you, my first experience with Julie Andrews was when I was in college. I was a saxophone major, and my teacher at the time, who was the head top woodwind call, he was the top chair for any Broadway show that John Miller was, contracting. And he was working Victor Victoria at the time. And I'll never forget, he says, Bacher, he says to me, you better make a decision. Because, I was doing both theater and music. And he says, are you going to be down here in the pit, or do you want to be up there? And that night I sat in the orchestra pit with all the musicians. And that whole night, Julie Andrews and Tony Roberts are up above me. So I like to tell people that I studied under Julie Andrews. That's always a that was the night I said, look, I'd rather be up there. And then here I am years later, still doing my music and getting to be up there, which is great. So, you find your way, right? And that's kind of the trick, is finding your way. And you mentioned before, both of you, or all three of you, about being authentic. And I think when you are your authentic self as a performer, you're going to find your way and find what makes you shine on stage and off. So.
Absolutely. And what is your biggest concern when it comes to the next generation in the arts?
Taste and attention span.
I agree.
I mean, I say that, but I don't think there's much of an appreciation at all from where we've come from. And I think that, a lot of times today, artists, even young artists, are being informed and told what they're supposed to like. And it's very much in the now and very, I dare say, somewhat disposable as far as, taste. I don't mean to say that I sound like an old fart. I just, it's like you mentioned somebody and say, okay, I for example, I was doing some master classes and the kids were wonderful. They were great, but they didn't, every time they got up, I said, who wrote this song? No. And we're talking, songs by Rodgers and Hart, songs by Gershwin, songs by Cole Porter. And I'm just, well, it's important to know that. Well, they say, why? I said, well, because you want to understand, who
they paved the way,
their body of work, and kind of understand. And something I brought up to people, which was interesting, and I tell this to instrumentalists too, because, I'm in that jazz world quite a bit, and I'm a saxophonist. And I said, Ben Webster, who was a great sax player, worked with, Duke Ellington's orchestra. He never sang in his life, but he knew every lyric to every song he played. And I'm telling you, when you listen to him play, you can understand, because he's bringing forth that story through his playing.
Right.
And that's a true artist. And I always think it's interesting that, they're listening to like people today because they're told by the media, this is what you got to listen to. This is what's hip, and they're not coming from any base of history. And I'm a history buff, so I find it very important to know that. So, and I just feel like, going on what Goldie said, base people off the merit of their talent and not so much agendas, and I don't know. I just feel like it's hurting the arts a lot right now. There's a lot of virtue signaling, a lot of tribalism going on, and it's hurting what the arts do. You can't make good art when you're afraid all the time.
Right.
You
And
can't
our
make
whole
good art
world.
when you're in fear.
The whole world. Goldie's absolutely right. I don't know if any of you saw The View this morning, but they talked about this very subject on The View this morning.
Yes,
Because yes, they said that most people picking up a fan magazine nowadays, a lot of people of a certain age don't even know who any of these people are anymore, because there's so many people having their 15 minutes of fame and then we never hear from them anymore. And I have a theory, and this is my own theory, and you can agree or disagree with me. I think the greatest disservice to the entertainment industry was MTV. And the reason I say this is because for the first time in the history of the arts, it was compartmentalized. And they had a handful, 5 people that were deciding what would make it onto that platform. And 2 generations grew up only watching that platform. So those of us of a certain age, I grew up in 1960s and 70s television. And when you think about television, it was only literally 20 years after vaudeville, and they were vying for the largest demographic. So I saw those from my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation and my own generation. Thank you, Ed Sullivan, all sharing a stage on any given night.
And
Right.
I think
Everybody knew who these
They
people
would have the Beatles and Soupy Sales and Julie Andrews, and all on this, and somebody twisting plates, all on the same show.
Yes.
But
Which
I
is
think
why they called them
what the
variety
difference is,
shows.
and I'm in a different generation, but like I seeked all that out because I knew it was important and I liked it. So a lot of people call me a throwback in my performance style because I come from that comedy world, I come from that theater world, but I understand like there's stuff and references I know that date back to the 20s and 30s, but that wasn't because I grew up at that time. It was because I was around people and I seeked it out because I was hungry for it. I don't think that goes on a lot today. People figure if it's not in their world and they haven't experienced, it's not important and it didn't happen. And
what would happen if an opera singer or a classical violinist said, "Oh, I don't care about what came before.
Yeah.
I don't care about the repertoire. Oh, the 18th century. I mean, we are what I was taught in the theater is it's a received tradition. It's an interpretive art form, not a progressive art form. It is not a progressive art form. There are no new ways of doing theater. I mean, there might be new technology and things like that, but theater's theater. And the repertoire, there are people who want to decolonize the repertoire, whatever the hell that means, because the fact is, whether you like it or not, you're saying things that Shakespeare made up 400 years ago. You're not even aware of it. Better to be aware of it so that you know what you're doing and you know what you're saying.
Dare I say that, we are performing for an audience. And people forget that the audience is very important. Not only do we get paid when an audience comes to see us, but we want to give something the audience wants. If every show now is making the audience feel like they're wrong or they're not going to come anymore. And
That's
we need
right.
the audience.
That's right.
That's right.
It's a no-brainer to me, but I don't get it.
I want to bring on our next guest, but before we do, there are 7 cards laid out. So pull a number and we'll see what your mystery card is today.
I guess was 7 already taken?
Well, you can pull it again.
No, we'll do another one. I'll do number 4. How's that?
Okay. Let's see here. Number 4. What's one thing when it comes to your art that you wish that you could go back and undo?
Say that one more time.
What's the one thing when it comes to your art that you wish that you could go back and undo?
Go back and undo? The fact that I didn't have piano lessons as a child.
That's great. Well, let's find out what our next guest has to say about that.
I never got to plug the shows.
We're going to plug them. There's still time. Don't worry about that. I've got everything planned, so don't worry about that. Yes.
My collector's item.
I do too.
Oh, I should have gotten my mug out too. I love it.
So pull number 1 or number 2, Danny.
Yes.
Number 1 or number 2?
No, number 1. You said number 1 or number 2?
Number 1 or number 2?
Let's go with number 1.
Okay, and I'm so thrilled that they are here. They do it together. Ann and Mark, welcome to the show, and I'm so glad that you're here. So you can decide who will go first with this question, either Ann or Mark. What's the one thing when it comes to your career that you wish that you could go back and undo?
He's pointing to me. I was just listening to Danny's answer, and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea, piano lessons. But anyway, I think that I paused my singing for a while when I was kind of juggling careers, that I still do both things, but I teach wellness and fitness for special populations. And I got very into that. And I was, traveling all over the country, speaking, at conferences and stuff like that. And so none of those people knew that I sang. And I was, not really pursuing music. And then the pandemic happened and I thought, well, this is what I really love. I've got to go back and put 100% into this. So I wish I hadn't paused for a few years doing all that running around.
Mark, how did you two meet, first of all? And when did you begin making music together? And we're going to go back to one of the previous questions. What do you feel that is the best job that you have had in this business working with Anne?
Working with Anne. Well, we met on a cruise ship. She was there all summer, and I was just there one day subbing for a sub. So that was just one of those fate things that was supposed to happen.
He asked me out at the end of the night and to go hear a piano bar person, which is a pretty safe thing. And so we went to the Drake Hotel and we heard Buddy Charles, who's kind of like our Bobby Short in Chicago. And my purse got stolen. So,
Mark, were you implicated?
No, he wasn't.
No.
So what do you consider the best job that the two of you have had together?
Together? Well, I think his favorite job was, he was by himself. He was working with Dave
Frischberg. And I was lucky enough to be the music director of a musical that he wrote called Quality Time. And it was in Milwaukee rep. And he came for the rehearsal process for 2.5 weeks. So we just got to hang out. And he's a songwriting hero of mine and a monster pianist and composer. And that was just a great 2-month run. And I just really enjoyed it.
That's great. And what are the two of you most concerned about with the next generation when it comes to the arts?
Well, I'll echo everything everybody said, like Goldie and James and Danny, about attention span and about knowing the history and from whence you came. And connection too. But I want to go further on the connection because I feel like the young people that I'm seeing coming up in cabaret are just finding the songs on their phone. So they're not really seeing, that it came from a musical or that it came from, that it told a story. And the biggest thing is that they're not with each other, encouraging. They're not in classes together. Maybe they're in an open mic together.
Yeah, they're watching music videos instead of going out to see shows.
Yeah. So they would learn more if they went to see Danny, if they went to see your shows. They would learn more, then they could speak with you afterwards and get takeaways from being in that audience and finding out that it can be funny. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to put across a song completely serious all the time. And so I think they're missing that interchange.
Well, I'll say something. When I came to New York in 1979, and there were a lot of piano bars around town. Yeah. And what I loved about the piano bars and the open mic scene at that time was I felt that everybody was there to support each other. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot from going to those. I remember going to the piano bar at 67th and Broadway with Houston Allred at the piano. And I went there probably for about 4 weeks before I got the courage to get up and sing in front of an audience for the first time in New York City. Mm-hmm. And then when I did my first cabaret show in New York, and unfortunately James wasn't around at that time, but I went to see as many shows as I could possibly see. And I would ask the artist after the show to tell me about your director. What is it that your director brings to you? And the one director and she's still, God bless her, still around and still very busy, was Lena Katrakis. And Lena Katrakis was directing a lot of shows at the time. And it was Lena Katrakis. And I finally called her up and I said, Lena, I want to do a show, but I have no idea what I'm going to do. And she said, that's the best place to start. and that was my first cabaret show in New York. And I am one of those. I go to see a lot of shows, and I do not go with cards in my hand to pass out. I am there to support the artist. You know, it's you know. So and I saw Claudine Jellison the other night. Go, everybody, see this show. Incredible. One of the best storytellers I've seen around. But, you know, I love everybody that's on this panel and what you all bring. And Anne and Mark, I cannot wait to be sitting in the audience of your show. And you have a show coming up at Don't Tell Mama as well. And that's coming up in just a few weeks, called Two for the Road.
We're excited about this because we thought, well, we haven't been to New York to do a show. We used to play at Judy's Chelsea and Judy's.
That was our favorite room.
And we've played it at Don't Tell Mamas too, which we love. But this time we decided to kind of branch out and go more in our wheelhouse, which is jazz.
So it's a jazz show.
Yeah. And we have a bassist that moved to New York that is phenomenal. His name is Jim Kamak. And he toured with Ahmad Jamal for like 40 years. Wow. Anyway. And
we have this exciting jazz violinist named Zach Brock. And he played Snarky Puppy and won a couple of Grammys. He's real we just met him. Kid. We just met him a month ago. And we fell in love and we said, hey, we're doing a show in New York. Would you like to be part of it? So we thought just bringing those two in is going to change everything up. So we'll have our core music, and then we'll create whatever's going to happen.
Well, we have another guest waiting in the wings, and she's been waiting patiently. So we're going to bring her up in a second. But before we do, there are 5 cards laid out. So Anne, you first.
Number 4.
Okay, and your card is. Well, this doesn't really. Let's go back before Mark was in your life. Okay. Would you rather date someone you love or date someone who loves you?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh. That's dangerous.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
And of course, you have both now.
Yeah. I like that ebb and flow. I think that. I'd rather date someone. Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Someone I love. That'll hold my attention span.
Okay. And Mark, you pulled your card 1 through 4.
1 through 4. Oh, I'll take 3. I like waltz, jazz waltzes.
Okay, and your card is. It's a rather question. Would you rather be the funniest or the smartest person in the room?
Oh, I'd rather be the smartest.
He's the funniest.
And that's why
they're often the same thing. They're often the same thing.
So our next guest is someone that I have known a long time. I remember when she got her MAC award many years ago. And we became good friends. We stayed at her home out in Pennsylvania, a beautiful farm that she had. And then she left it all. And she went out to start a new career on the West Coast and has done very, very well for herself. As a matter of fact, she's got a new show that she's taking to France, which we're going to talk about. But a couple of weeks ago, I appeared at the Santa Monica Playhouse in Santa Monica, and Tessa Bell was there. So welcome, Tessa.
Oh, Richard, I love you so much. I really do.
You.
If it hadn't have been for Richard when I decided to get into the cabaret scene, if he had not been there, I would have lasted 6 months. It was so brutal. There were so many people who just didn't want me there. And Richard was the only one who was like, oh, come on in, babe. I'll show you the ropes. God bless you.
I'm going to cry. I mean, I never knew that.
It's true.
Wow.
Do you remember?
Cabaret is very much like high school, don't you think? Who's going to be at the popular table this week? It's and it's this ebb and flow of the business.
Yeah.
So, Tessa, the funniest or the smartest person in the room?
Well, I want to fall in love with the smartest person in the room, but I want to live with the funniest. So it would be hard to pick which one I would want to be, because I'd want to be the opposite. But I'm with James. The funniest is often the smartest. So
Mm-hmm.
I like being funny. Funny's good. Yeah, I'd feel
And
funny.
what is the best job that you feel that you've ever had in this business?
Well, I think the best job that I've ever had in this business is coming up, to be honest with you, because the Avignon Festival off is part of the Avignon Festival, which is an entire month. The city of Avignon becomes a theatrical experience where every space that could possibly be transformed into a theater is transformed into a theater, and from 9 to midnight there are shows every 2 hours, all up and down. I mean, it's massive, and to have been invited is like, I didn't even know I had that dream, but apparently I did.
Wow.
And I'll be performing the show every night. I think that's going to be the top for me.
Sounds
And
fantastic.
you know, and in the time that I've known you, you've worn so many hats. But is there one thing that you did in your career that you wish that you could go back and undo?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you're asking, because when you asked it before, I thought, oh, I know one. So in 2001, right after 9/11, I was preparing my show, Men, Money, and Madness, and had to rewrite the whole thing, because once we had 9/11, the world changed, and what I was saying didn't resonate even to me anymore. So I rewrote the show really fast, did it at Don't Tell Mamas, and then did it at Judy's in Chelsea, which I love. But I have 2 children, and at that time my daughter was about 14, and she was at a conservatory in New York City, and we were both doing classes together. And Joan C., who runs that organization, at the end of the class told me, she said, your daughter will have a career as an actress, but I'm never going to hire you, because you're 40 some odd years old, and I'm going to hire somebody else who's 40, who's already been in the trenches for 20 years. And I thought, okay, well, that makes sense. And as I was driving home one night, and I had just had one of my shows, and I thought, why am I devoting all of this when my daughter's the one who's got the juice? And so I decided, and it changed my whole mind. Like, I decided the reviews were no good and the show was no good. And I mean, I just went off on a drama to enable myself to leave. Well, when I revisited this show during COVID, I decided, what am I going to do? I thought, let me look at Men, Money, and Madness. And I opened it up, the file, and I read the reviews. And in my mind, I swear to God, I had 20 years of bad reviews in my head about that show. And in fact, the reviews were like, she's beautiful voice, and she's telling us things that are really interesting, and she's seeing the world in a different way, la da da da. And I was like, wait a minute, these are the reviews that I got. This is why I left that show and that whole cabaret scene. And I mean, I was just like flabbergasted. And it really showed me how, in my immaturity, my sense, my mind, yes, James, and my heart, when they get together, sometimes it's a real disaster. And had I kept it up, I mean, I don't know where I would be, but I wouldn't have gone to Los Angeles, and so I would have missed all of these things. But it was a shock when I saw that I had let reviews become bad reviews. First of all, they weren't even bad reviews. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm really psycho. So the answer is,
I'm on I keep talking. I want to read all of you a rejection letter that not for me, but a rejection letter that I saw this morning, and I took a quote from this to go in my newsletter for next week. And first of all, James, your wisdom quotes for the day, I live for those. So thank you for that. But while I'm looking this up, Tessa, what are you most concerned about with the next generation in the arts?
Okay, so I have children who are in their 30s, and they're both in the arts. And so they're sort of pre-iPhone life, and they're still human beings who interact with other human beings. But my son produces a lot of musicians who are in their 20s or late teens and early 20s. And man, I hope there's a shift, because right now we're going down a rabbit hole of technology where the world becomes meta. And any study that you want to look at and that looks at the rate of suicide, the rate of depression, yada, yada, stuff is not good for us. It's just not good for us. And we have to figure out a way to. Now in Europe, it's not the same. When I got the show, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this and TikTok and social media, and I got to get a manager and social media. And they were all like, we don't do that. We're going to put out posters.
Wow.
So I
We're
want
going
to
to hand out postcards to human beings. And I was like, oh my God. And so Europe has already gotten these rail guards in place over social media and that whole meta world. They're not interested in a meta world. And so I really think Americans need to like make that an issue.
Amen.
Yeah, and there has to be laws.
So I want to read this. Writer and translator Estelle Gilson shares this translation of a rejection slip issued by a Chinese economic journal, and in the process reveals the most incredible way to say no. We have read your manuscript with boundless delight. If we were to publish your paper, it would be impossible for us to publish any work of lower standard. And as it is unthinkable that in the next 1,000 years we shall see its equal, we are, to our regret, compelled to return your divine composition and to beg you 1,000 times to overlook our short sight and timidity.
Wow.
What?
What?
That's basically saying we're SHIT at our jobs, but good luck with that somewhere else.
Right,
I mean,
right. But, it's so
What?
true. I mean, going back to what Tessa said a moment ago, we've all had those moments in our lives where someone has said to us, I'm sure that I'm not alone, you're less than.
Yep.
And then there are
And those are the things that stick.
Mm-hmm.
We always remember, I mean, I can quote you the worst review I ever got. The best? No, I can't. And we convince ourselves because we got natural humility and we don't want to toot our own horn. But the truth is, the fact that I can remember the worst thing that was ever said about me in print means I'm holding on to something that is holding me back. I mean, Tessa took it one level more and like made it all up. But my favorite rejection.
Oh, creative.
My favorite rejection thing, and I just have to say it because you mentioned it, and you'll love it. If you don't know about Fred Astaire, he and his sister Adele were big stars on Broadway, and he came out to do a screen test out at MGM, and he did his screen test, and the note from the people who watched his screen test, the note was, balding, can't sing, can't act, dances a little.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was the review of Fred Astaire.
Oh,
Well,
God.
I always
So the
think
rest is history, y'all.
when you get a quote, you can always do something with a quote. One time, I didn't think it was a very friendly thing to say, but a fellow singer saw in a review, it said the underwhelming such and such, and I said, just take out under and put in quotes whelming.
My very first stock job was at the Heritage Playhouse in Hopkinton, Rhode Island in 1983 for, are you ready for this? $36 a week. The housing was provided, and we learned to economize because everybody in the company was getting $36 a week. And we all shopped together, and we were able to eat and do our shows. So I was doing a role that in today's world I never would have been cast in, and you can all form your own opinions on that. But I played Peter Van Damme in The Diary of Anne Frank. And one night we had two people in the audience, and they were both critics. And one critic was named Robert Utter, Udder. We called him the Utter critic. But one critic said that I did more facial mugging in one scene than Carol Burnett did in her entire career. The other review said it was the most moving portrayal from adolescence into adulthood that he had ever experienced from an actor on stage. Wow. So which one of those do I believe?
Was that the impetus to start doing Carol Channing?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's another show and another thing. We'll talk. No, it was that came as the result of a lot of friends telling me that we should do. But what I want to do, we've got some remaining moments here. I want to go around and I want to focus on your next project and everything that's coming up. So anything that you want to say about this, now's your chance to get the word out about that so we can talk about those. And then There are two other things that I want to do, and then each of you are going to get a chance to have a final statement for today. And it could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to leave everyone with. And you will get another chance to do that. But Goldie, let's start with your show. Once again, I want to let everybody know that Goldie Dver is doing this show, Sneak Peek. Now, as you were talking about the show earlier, Goldie, and I'll take this off so we can see you, a thought ran into my head. A lot of people in our community are working on projects that they want to get showcased or to try out. And I'm sure that you and James, I'm hoping, are open to this. If anybody wants to get in touch with you with a project that they're working on, because I think this is a brilliant idea, what advice do you want to give to everybody?
We are absolutely open to hearing from anyone who is working on new projects, because that's what this is all about, giving people an opportunity to put their new things, their new works, their things in development in front of people, because you never really know what you have when you're alone in a room. And the collaboration process is wonderful, but you need to get it up on its feet and share it with an audience to really see what you have. So please feel free to contact either me or Jamie. My email is goldie@goldiedver.com. And Jamie is jjbeaman@yahoo. Did I get that right? Okay, at yahoo.com. And we do have a wish list as well that we are working on now that we have developed what each monthly show will be. The first monthly show, the reason we chose these people is because the title of the first monthly theme is, and the winners are ... and we're featuring winners from both the MAC and the Bistro Awards from this year. And but yes, I'm thrilled to be able to do this, because as an artist, I understand the importance of that. And as just a friend of so many people in the community, I am so happy to be able to share their work and their talent with everyone out there. So we're very excited about doing this show. What was the other part of that question?
Well, people want to get in touch with you. I have an idea as a companion piece for this that I want to let you and James know about, but I'm going to tell that to you privately.
Okay.
So that you could do, either every other month, or maybe do 2 shows a month. But I've got an idea that I want to run by you that doesn't have anything to do with me.
Well, and FYI, every month we'll be doing one of these shows, like the 3rd or 4th Wednesday at Mama's. And then at the end of the year, in December, we will be capping off the whole year with the reprise of our St. Jude benefit, which will be 2 nights this year. Should I tell them the titles that we have, Jamie? Okay. So because the first one last December, which we were so happy was so successful, we raised so much money for St. Jude. So important. We used sort of a cocktail theme. We called it the season straight up with a twist. A little bit of a cocktail, a little double entendre. So this year, because it will be a weekend, a Saturday and Sunday night, 7th and 8th of December, we're calling the weekend the season, make it a double. And then the first night on Saturday will be called On the Rocks. And the second night on Sunday will be called The Hangover. Yes. So it'll be a lovely, fun weekend. We'll raise lots of money for St. Jude again. And before I leave, if you are we going to Jamie next?
We're going to go to Jamie next, but don't, I don't want you to leave until I take you off.
I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. But I just want to say that I am one of Jamie's girls in Jamie's show. And I'm so excited that he's reprising this show for one more. There are some people that didn't get a chance to see this. Come on out. You will be happy that you did. And myself, Sierra Ryan, and Alex D'Souza, we get to be Jamie's girls and sing some lovely, fun backup with him. So, yeah. So, definitely June 1st.
And here we are. I mean, it's lived experience, and trust me, James has lived it. You know.
That he has.
So, James, anything that you want to say about the show that we probably have not covered,
Thanks, man.
or that you just want to get out to everyone?
Well, I just want to quickly say, Goldie Dver is one of the most supportive, lovely people in our community, and she's a wonderful host. We learned this when she did her CD launch at the Beachman a couple seasons ago. She had Carolyn Montgomery as her guest, and she's the hostess with the mostest. And I want her to do more of this. So I've been pushing her in this direction. But also, you know, this isn't an open mic. It isn't a come see my show necessarily. It could be both, but it's really about celebrating artists in the progress of their work,
Right.
and developing a dialogue with each other about the work and the process and the creation, so that when the show actually comes, we're already in on it. We're already a part of it. We're invested in it, in each other. 88's, if you remember back in the day, was the hub for everyone, Broadway, off-Broadway, cabaret. We'd all end up there at some time of the night, every night of the week, and we just sing and enjoy and support and root each other on. And that's really what Sneak Peek's about. Lived experience is a survival project. It was a way for me to process or try to process some of the things I've been through over the past 4 years. Really, my life just kind of, it just took a completely, well, it didn't take a different turn. It just kind of just fell apart. And I know a lot of people are still struggling to put it back together. And this show is about, yeah, I'm almost 60 years old. You know, and my tagline about the lived experience is, lived experience is code for a life. There is no other kind of experience. And this show is about, I'm still here. I have something to offer. You're talking about the younger generation. I do a lot of this, but I also do it with love because I'm a teacher and I'm a coach. And I say to them, okay, girls, you didn't invent it. Okay. You didn't invent gender play. You didn't do that. You know, someone did it before you. And by acting like you did it, you look like a fool. So you're going to have to be read a little bit. And then I'm going to embrace you with love. And I'm going to tell you what you need to read and what you need to do. But I feel like it's a way to connect with people. Gen X, young boomers, all those of us who are a little seasoned, to let everybody know it's not over. It's not over. It's never over until it's over. And it's a throwback to the 70s variety specials that we all grew up on. So I tell people it's like Peter Allen threw up on it. It's full of glitter and spangles and fun numbers and little costume changes. And I feature a music video that I created that's a retrospective of my work as a drag performer, where Richard and I were trotting the boards in our heels back in the 90s. And I'll tell you, it's a wonderful thing to hear the audience from behind the screen at the Triad just going, oh yes, I remember. Or young people coming up to me afterwards going, where else can I see that? What else am I, So it's really a celebration of we all have a story. And I hope people will come June 1st. If you can't be there in person at the Triad, people didn't come. A lot of people didn't come last time because it was on a Thursday at 9:30. Well, it's Saturday at 7. It's June 1st.
Pride Month.
It kicks off Pride Month in old-fashioned style, old school style. And we're also doing a live stream, which is an extraordinary feature of the Triad. They've got a permanent 6-camera setup there. And John Freshman and his team do this beautiful. It's like literally like broadcasting a live special. So if you can't come in person, there's a link to the live stream. You can get your tickets. Please buy your tickets so that the Triad knows that people are coming. Don't surprise me.
Anne and Mark, speaking of Pride, thanks for all the work that you do on behalf of the LGBTQ community. So that needs to be acknowledged. That's another show altogether. But you tell us about your upcoming show. We talked a little bit, maybe there's something that we didn't cover that you just want to get across to everyone. And I've got a lot of your links here. And just to let everyone know, all of these links will be on the YouTube channel. So you'll be able to see everything later.
Well, okay, first of all, Richard, thank you so much for having Chicago people on your show. We really appreciate it. Our show is a labor of love. We recorded an album during the pandemic because I woke up straight out of bed and I was like, oh, I know what we have to do. Both of our mothers passed away during the pandemic. We lost them very quickly right when it started. I know you just lost your mom
I
too.
just lost my mom.
So
Yes.
we were like trying to pick each other up off the couch, like just to eat or any, you know how it is. And
as soon as she said,
I said that we've got to record an album because we can all be in our own booths.
boom.
And so we called it, and nobody's on tour. So we called all the best musicians we knew.
They were all out of work, so they were all happy to.
And we all recorded that record. And so we're celebrating Two for the Road, which we manifested going back out on the road after COVID. And there's a surprise to Lusty Month of May is our new ode to LGBT.
Oh, it's incredible. I listened to it this morning. It's just incredible. And I mean, talk about a whole new way of hearing something.
Thank you. Oh, and thank you for saying that. That's the new single off of the new record, which we just finished recording, and it's at the mastering guy's house right now.
So we're waiting on that. It'll be released in the
Next
summer
couple months,
or fall. But our new show has 3 songs from the newest album that's not released. So that's the little teaser. We have a few songs from the next album.
We just want to share our love for the community.
Thank you,
cabaret and of artists.
Welcome to New York, so it's great. Tessa, unfortunately, I don't have artwork or links for you, but they will all end up on the channel. So anything you want to say about your upcoming show, and Vive la France.
Vive la France. It's so funny how the world, your life, the lived experience of life becomes. I fell in love with Paris when I was very, very young. I was there for the first time when I was 7. And I fell in love like I didn't know what that felt like, but in retrospect, I was in love. And I've always been in love with Paris. So there's some karmic, something that's going along. So to have been able to be invited to this is just so, I'm not French, but I'm French in my heart. So it's really lovely. But I'm going to try, we'll see what happens after the show's run. Avignon is really a booking festival, and the bookers from Europe and actually Japan and all around the world, Brazil, come to see shows. So if there's a buzz that's generated and people come and see my show, then maybe there'll be more shows of it. But also the French consulate is considering my show for a tour in the United States.
Wow.
So if we do it in New York through the French consulate, that's one thing. But of course, in my heart of hearts, I would love to come back and do the show at, now I'm thinking the Triad, because that sounds fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
But Judy's or Don't Tell Mamas or something.
And you're in the perfect zone for congestion pricing. So
Exactly. But yeah, but I might not be able to actually afford to do that because it's a bit of a.
Don't say never.
Don't say never.
We'll deal with that when we get to that.
Exactly.
I will tell you, when I went to California very quickly, and James knows this, I went in with abandon. I self-produced my show with Santa Monica Playhouse. I covered all my expenses, everything, and I walked away with a profit. So you never know. Yeah.
Whoa, good for you. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good for you. And Danny, you've got several projects coming up. So I want to get some of these links on camera and show some of the artwork for your upcoming shows.
Yeah, and I just want to say, along with Tessa, I love Paris too, and that's actually where my wife and I got engaged.
There you go.
That was a good place to go for that. But yeah, so this show that you're showing right now that's the one coming up. It feels like it's ages from now because there's so much happening before that. But on Monday, June 17th, I wanted to let everyone know, because I'm on the board here of the APSS, American Popular Song Society. We're honoring Richard Maltby and David Shire with Lifetime Achievement Award.
My next door neighbor.
Yeah, that's right. And we have a very wonderful cast, including yours truly. I'll actually be doing an instrumental only tribute from the film score that meant a lot to me growing up, from David Shire's score to Return to Oz. So I've got Shire's. I don't know if you ever saw that film. It's a beautiful score, one of the most hauntingly. And so he's actually Dennis, who works with David Shire, is getting the music and actually writing out a soprano sax part for me to play.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited about that. So we're going to have, we've got, Austin Pendleton, Barbara Blyer, so many people, Melissa Errico, a lot of great cast coming in. So that's happening on the 17th, and it's a really good cause. We're raising money for our season and for all the artists coming in and all the concerts. And then on the 2nd of June, I see we're going backwards here in time. Linda Mena, of course, is joining. She's on the poster, and Hillary Cole and myself are going to be singing with a 20-piece jazz big band, which is always a treat to do. And we're doing this concert actually in Bergenfield for the Friends of Music, which is scholarships for children that go to school. So again, a great cause, but it's going to be a really fun show. And that's going to be in Bergenfield in New Jersey. So, no congestion pricing, by the way. And then, of course, the one coming up next week, we're very excited. I'm going to be the first concert in this brand new theater down in Homedale, New Jersey, called the Bell Theater, which is in the old Bell Laboratories in Homedale. It's a really cool space. And we're going to be doing a night of bossa nova. And Alexia Bontempo will be joining me. He's a great Brazilian singer. And it's all it's called Let's Go to Rio. So it's a musical celebration of Brazil and samba and bossa nova and all kinds of great stuff. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
That's great. We've got a little over today. Is everyone okay for a few minutes?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because before we get to our final, and this is my last show in this series, so we're going to go a little longer. But I want to go around with each of you, and I want you to mention something that you either saw, whether it be a movie or a live show, or a piece of music that you heard this week, or a book that you read that really inspired you this week. And I want to start by saying I saw Claudine Jellison just a few nights ago at Don't Tell Mama. She's going to be back, I think, on Sunday. I don't know if it's happening on Sunday or not, but look her up, Claudine Jellison, brilliant show, and a lot of French in that as well, Tessa. But it's about aging in our profession, aging in love, everything. I was crying like a baby watching the show. I turned to Barry Kleinbord, who was her director, and I said, this is perfection. This is what it's all about. The underscoring, everything was beautiful. And but it just touched me on so many levels. And I looked over, and Danny, my husband, and it takes a lot to get him but he was weeping. Just a beautiful show. So Claudine Jellison, go see her. Goldie, same question.
I've been going to a lot of cabaret this month. As you said, cabaret is back full force. So happy that it is. And a lot of shows that I truly want to see. A woman whom I have not seen do her own show in many years. Last time I saw her perform was with Jim Caruso and Billy Stritch. They do the Christmas show at Birdland. Leah Blackhurst.
Leah Blackhurst, who I'm seeing tomorrow night in A Complicated Woman at the Goodspeed Opera House.
Oh, I wish I could see that. She spoke about that.
Do you want to go with me?
I can't. I can't. I'm already obligated.
Don't tell them the reason.
She sees everything, guys. She's booked.
Yes, right. I'm not saying where or who, but I'm just obligated elsewhere.
Thank you, Danny.
I remember. I'm listening.
But I saw her do her solo show at Chelsea Table and Stage last Sunday. The woman, first of all, just blew me away. She is a force of nature. She's amazing. She did her Jerry Herman show. And, I have heard that Jerry Herman had said, if you want to hear the way my song should be sung, listen to Clea Blackhurst sing them. So what more could you wish for? But what I loved about her show, the performance of the song, of the material, wonderful. The woman gets inside of her song, inside of her lyrics. But because she's doing this Uncomplicated Woman show, and she spoke about that, how she had one day off to come down and do the show, and she was going right back. This was a show she had done, I don't know how many years ago, and was reprising. And the patter, which was, I hate to use the word patter because it was like conversation with us. But there were times when she had notes on the piano. She referred to them openly without trying to hide and say, ooh. But but used it. And there were times when she sort of, forgot what she had wanted to say about a specific moment in the show. And she was not embarrassed by it. She just used it. We were with her. It did not matter one bit. That stage was her home. We were there with her in her living room, and she could do no wrong. And when I see somebody's work, whether it's theater, cabaret, doesn't matter, half of my brain is the audience wanting to be entertained by that show. The other half of my brain is watching the work. Both halves were truly delighted that night. And it was a wonderful experience. She's amazing. Yes. So that really inspired me in many ways.
Okay. James?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't see nearly as many things as Goldie does. And believe me, my friends, she's the maven. She is so supportive of so many people. And the fact that we're doing this series featuring artists and their work, there's no better person to curate that and to invite the best folks and the up and comers and established people. But it occurred to me, I went to both the Bistro Awards and the Mac Awards this year, and I was thrilled by both presentations. Both of them were terrific, and the talent was incredible. This young man, talking about the younger generation, young man I'd never seen before, did one number, and I went, "Who is this?" And it's a young gentleman named Jason Henderson.
Right. I knew you were going to say that.
I love him.
Is
right?
Unbelievable from another time. And Jason does Noel Coward. He does a show of Noel Coward material. He's being coached and directed by Steve Ross, who knows that oeuvre inside and out. And this young man, he's thoughtful, he's clever. His verbal dexterity, his irony, he doesn't comment, he's just present. It is a kind of economy and a kind of smart delivery of beautifully intricate and funny stuff that I was shocked. I was like, where did this boy come from? And I can't wait to see him in Sneak Peek do something else. I can't wait to see him do whatever he does. I was an instant fan. Not just because I'm a big fan of Noel Coward and I'm an old fart and I love the old stuff, but because like we were saying earlier, Danny, he made it his own. He wore a little bow tie and everything, but he wasn't doing pastiche. He really means it, and he loves what he's doing.
That's him.
Yes,
it's fantastic. So I can't recommend him enough. And I just have to say, I turned Goldie Dver on to Becca Kidwell's latest show, directed by Jeff Harner. And it is a dark and dirty show. And I'm so proud of her because I've directed her too. And man, Goldie agreed with me. I'm like, it's out there, this show. I don't know if my taste is going to line up with yours, but it's always good to have my taste validated. Bravo, Becca and Jeff.
Yes.
Incredible
I never
show.
mind people going out there as long as they take me with them. And she was fully committed and wonderful. And it was a great show. Yes, absolutely.
Anne and Mark.
Well, that's an easy answer. 2 nights ago, we saw the great Renee Fleming in the lecture series on Music and Mind. And I have to say, in complete truth, that she helped to get us through the pandemic, because we watched her streaming show, and every week the guests were amazing. And she told us what we really knew in our hearts was that there's so much of a connection between how music affects your brain. And of course, there was a book, and of course we bought it, and of course we met her, and of course she signed it. And we're just cracking open the book. And if you get a chance to buy this book, please, if you do anything, buy this book, Music and Mind by Renee Fleming.
And I think the series is still up. She was with the Kennedy Center. She was just talking about the importance of music to our health. And so she's working with the National Institutes of Health and connecting music and our.
Can you send me the links for that? Do you mind sending me the links for that? That'll be great.
Yes, I would be happy. We told everybody. We watched it. It was on 4 p.m. on Facebook every Tuesday during the whole pandemic. And, they had streaming problems and everything.
Oh, it saved us. It really did.
Yeah, but she really talked about, and it put us on a mission that, of course, we need to make music and put that out there in the world.
That's great. Tessa?
Well, I wear several hats, and one of them is I run a writer's workshop for uh, film and television properties, and so I get to see a lot of the women, and it's all for women. Sorry, but it's a thing there. But because out here, women are so unsupported in the arts, especially women over 40. So, and that's the box that we're in, women over 40 who are writers in the industry. And so I get to read a lot of work, and I get to work with a lot of women. And it's such a wonderful, constantly wonderful. Anyway, Sardia Robinson is a Jamaican American gal who's got a TV show in development, and she's this big, huge, beautiful, wonderful, who has had one of the most difficult lives ever. Losing her mother, having to find her way to Chicago, losing her sister. I mean, just lots and lots of bringing herself up by the bootstraps, and it's a fairy tale ending. But the show that she's putting together is really, it's just to watch her do her thing with all of the economic and social and pressures that she's under, which I was never under. I am not a Black Jamaican woman, so, and I'm very aware of my privileges that I've had in my life, and but nothing can keep this woman down. She's so, you'll see her, because she's going to take that one woman show around, I'm pretty sure. And when you do, I'll let you know.
That's wonderful. Danny?
I'm also not a Black Jamaican woman.
I noticed.
Never assume.
One of the things that, what's interesting is because being so busy and working so much, I don't get out as much as I'd like to see everybody. There's always so many shows coming, and I'm like, I want to see it, and it's like, oh, I'm rehearsing, or I'm out of town, but so we had tickets. My wife had got me tickets to see Sweeney Todd back when it was like early in the run, and then I got a tour, and I couldn't go. So we finally saw it last week, like with 3 days before it closed, and we both kind of went with a little bit of like trepidation, because we loved that show. I mean, that was a life-changing experience to me when I saw that as a kid. And it was on Circle in the Square. So I guess the second time it ran on Broadway, because I was only one when the first one came out. So I didn't go to that. But I remember my father saying,
Right.
You got to see this. It's got everything. It's got comedy, great score, and there's cannibalism. I'm like, hey, it sounds great. So, I saw that, and it was like life-changing. And I've seen so many productions of that. But like, we were reticent because we're thinking, uh-oh, I hope they didn't do something. Because a lot of times they're taking these great shows and they're screwing with it. And you know what? It was like a relief to like see, the actors do their own take, which was really unique and original. Sutton Foster, I thought, was really terrific, because that's hard to play Mrs. Lovett and do something different with that role and not make you not like it. Because how do you follow Angela Lansbury? And but all the production I've seen like great value. But this was really a wonderful production. I was really pleasantly surprised in how much I enjoyed it, and it was just reminded me how much I love going to the theater, and when something's done right, it really is a wonderful thing. And that's one of my top favorite shows, one of the top 3. And to hear that score with the full orchestra and those voices, it really was inspirational to me. I really, really loved it. So, and that was the most recent, that was last week. So I guess that's pretty recent.
That's great. Well, I want to thank all of you for making my grand finale one of the best. I've loved having all of you on the show today. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word. I will pick someone, and then when you finish, you'll pick the next person, and so on until the last person is standing. And when the last person says goodbye, I will end the show. I want to say something that Danny just said. How do you follow Angela Lansbury? You just do. When Carol Channing was starting out in the business, she was booked in Las Vegas at the Frontier Hotel. And in those days, show business, Las Vegas was 24/7. There were shows every hour on the hour throughout the night and in the morning, because gamblers were there. And if you've ever been in a casino, there are no clocks anywhere. So no one knows what time it is. They just know that Jimmy Durani's doing a show at 4 a.m. And believe it or not, he would pack them in. And nobody wanted to follow him because he was so popular. And Carol Channing said, I'll follow him. And he did, and it put her on the map. Because she said, all I have to do is to step into the love. And that's how I feel about when I get the chance. Just recently, Tessa was there. I'm on stage with Joanne Worley and Mary Jo Catlett.
Wow.
And guess what? They were on stage with me.
Mhm.
I felt I had an epiphany moment happen to me. And this is going to sound braggadocious, but it was a big epiphany moment. And I said to Danny, after that weekend was over, I always felt that they were there, meaning celebrity them, and that I was here. And for the first time in my life, I felt that I was part of the process. I didn't feel
Nice.
that I felt that I was no longer an outsider.
Mm.
And I think that all of us, one of the things that, and I got this loud and clear with the work that Goldie is doing and James is doing, all of you are doing, with talking about something that touched us in the last week or so. As artists, it's not just about us standing in the spotlight. It's about us sharing that spotlight and shining that spotlight on others. And as long as we're able to do this, I read a quote the other day that when you meet someone, leave them a little bit more elevated than deflated. And that's should be our goal with every single person we come in contact with every single day. Those of you who have seen my live shows and those of you who see my virtual shows, I end all my shows with the same message. And that message is to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in
In
return.
return.
All of us are on Facebook, and I want each and every one of you to do this, and I want you to report back to me. I want you to go to your Facebook friends list after today's show, and the 8th name that pops up, I want you to reach out with a phone call. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And let that person know the impact that they've made on your life. And by doing so, you're going to make an impact on their life. I know that Anne and Mark and myself just recently lost our moms, and Mother's Day's coming up. I spoke with my mom that morning, and I spoke with my sister today, and her dog, Jax, that was devoted to my mom. When I went home, for the wake and everything, Jax sat in her favorite chair and would not leave. Jax literally starved himself to death, and they had to put Jax down because he stopped eating. And my sister said he just couldn't go on without my mom there. I'm tearing up when I think about this, but I think of this with so many people in our lives, and I got a chance to speak with my mom that morning because her passing was sudden, unexpected. We all have the chance to reach out, and let's take advantage of that. My dear friend Sean Moniger, he says we're all in the same boat, but we're all in the same store, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side.
I love it.
That for me, I'm going to turn it over to Danny. And Danny, when you finish, you'll pick the next person, and so on. I love each and every one of you, and I can't wait to be in the audience of your shows. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Danny, it's all yours.
Thank you.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual, Richard, and thank you so much. It's really always a pleasure to be a part of your shows and an honor to share with all these wonderful, talented artists and people. Some people I haven't met yet, and some people I know well. And anyway, thank you for having me, and I wish everyone the best. And here's to a very successful upcoming spring and summer season and beyond. So thank you all, and hope to see you real soon. And I'm going to pass it on to Goldie.
Well, thank you, Danny. And yes, Richard, it really is an honor to be on your very last show. It's so bittersweet. But I totally understand why you're doing this, and thrilled that you really are coming back to live performing. Your show was phenomenal. I went twice, so I must have liked it. And you have always given so much to all of us and been so supportive. And you deserve to now have your time because you're wonderful. So I'm thrilled that you're doing that. And for me, the theme that has been a running theme through this show, and I think is necessary in just every aspect of our lives today and every aspect of our society today, is that we have to learn how to communicate again with each other, person to person. Drop the phones, drop the emails. When I see young people sitting at a dinner table, and instead of them talking to each other, they're texting each other across the table. It's mind-boggling. Connect. That is one of the best things of live performance, is that connection. And do it in your personal life as well. It can only help. And
Cool.
yes, I will turn it over to you, Tess. What?
Oh, thank you, because I've got
I will turn it over to you.
people backing up over. I'm so thrilled that I got to meet Anne and Mark. I think I saw your work long ago. James, I can't wait to actually be in New York and see what you're up to, Goldie and everybody. And thank you so much for letting me be part of Richard's last show. Thank you. Bye.
You gotta pick somebody.
Oh,
darling.
I'm so sorry, James. I'll pick you.
We're all being polite. It's gonna be me. Listen, I just want to say something about Richard Skipper. He's a wonderful human being, but he's also a formidable performer of enormous charisma and charm and love and knowledge. And the audiences are responding. And it's an uplifting show. It's about celebrating the joy of our theater and our history and our stars today and yesterday. And I'm so glad he's out there performing. He's inspiring me. I mean, I directed it, but I don't get to be there in London when he's with Lorna Dallas and Crazy Gox. I wish I could be. But I feel like, I was a part of something that was inevitable. And I'm so glad, Richard, that you're out there, and I'm so proud of you. And my dear friend Goldie is keeping my lights on by having me direct her stuff and by supporting what I'm doing. I get by with a lot of help from my friends, and that's what it's all about at this point in our lives. It ain't over till it's over, and we got to keep pushing forward, even if it's tough. We've all been through tough times before. And I just want to say to those of you who've lost your mom, I lost my mom 2 years ago after nursing her with Alzheimer's during lockdown in my apartment, and then seeing her through a nursing home and all of that. And last night, I was a presenter at the New York International Screenplay Awards, which I won 2 years ago for a pilot that I wrote as a survival project to deal with all of this stuff that was going on during lockdown. My mother when I went to accept my award 2 years ago, it was on the 9th of May. And my mom had just passed the day before. And May 8th that year of 2022 was Mother's Day. And as I say in my show, before I sing my tribute to my mother, I say, she left on Mother's Day, once an actress, always an actress. And I was there last night after having been a jurist and having read 100 scripts, and I could present the winner in my category in the same, and I said to everybody, 2 years ago, I was in shock and mourning over the loss of my mom. And now she's here with me tonight. She was a writer herself, and she's smiling down at me being able to support other people. And all I want to say to you is, those of you who lost your mom, if you're feeling that pain and that grief, it's because you had the best. You had someone who loved you, and you can't regret that. You can't. And please come see me at Triad Theater, June 1st, 7 p.m. And if you can't come in person, please live stream the show. It's a message about hope. It's a message about being flawed and beautiful and human. And we all share, these passages of life together. And we have to be here for each other and with each other, and just keep making music. Anne and Mark and Danny and Goldie and Rich is out there killing it. And please keep the faith. The kids are going to be okay. We just have to use a little tough love from time to time. Much love. Thanks, everyone.
James. Well, thank you to everybody that was on the show with us, and Richard for facilitating such a beautiful thing that we can share with the world. I think that we'd like to say, don't give up on your dreams, because you never know. You just never know when they're going to come to fruition in a totally different way than you ever planned. And so
manifest your dreams.
Manifest your dreams in one way or another. And we just want to leave you with that. And Richard and everybody, we hope to see you very soon. Bye.
Love.